Welcome to Or Something Like That,
the podcast where you can talk shit with your besties.
We're your hosts, Sam
and Hollis. Be sure to follow us on social and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode.
And if you love us, give us that 5-star review.
All right, we back.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm swell.
I just saw you a couple days ago.
I know.
So, yeah.
We did. We had a non-podcast hang.
We did.
It was fun.
It was nice.
I got to see the girls.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
Yes,
and
they're very
fun.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
The little ones at a really fun age.
Oh my gosh. I know I've talked about this before, but it's just my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
1 to 2. That year between 1 and 2. Their little personalities start to come out. They're just so smiley. They're so sweet still. Yeah. And everything they do is adorable and hilarious. And they still have like that baby body, that squishiness, you know?
Yeah, she's pretty funny
delicious.
Too.
They're just delicious.
She doesn't talk a whole lot, but the things she does say are really funny.
Yes, she's very, her big ones are, yeah. She likes to say yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And uh-oh. And there's just something like inherently cute about uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, she's a cutie
sweet.
for sure.
Yeah. So as a dog owner, I thought you might have a opinion on this, but I've never had this happen to me before. I have new neighbors and they have a dog, and we're the only house on our street, on our little like leg of the street, and it forks, and on our fork we're the only house, and then on the other fork there's 2 houses, so they live in one of those houses, and it's almost like our road is kind of like a driveway for everybody. And I was coming home the other day, so I passed them as she was walking the dog, like, in the opposite direction, and we waved, and I'm driving down towards my house, and I just happened to like glance in the rearview mirror, and I see the dog is running after my car and like dragging her along. I mean, She was on her feet, but like running after the dog. That's clearly. And I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I stop? Do I just like keep going?
How big is a dog?
It's a pretty big dog. I mean, not huge, but I don't know, like lab size, I would say. Yeah. It's a bigger dog, bigger breed, but I was like, oh no.
No, I think about that all the time now that I have a dog. And she's small, she's 13 pounds.
Yeah.
And she can pull, and like if she wants to resist, like sometimes I kind of really have to yank her if she's not listening. And I think about that when I watch people with big dogs. I'm like, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way that if I was walking a full-size German Shepherd and it wanted to go, that I would be able to maintain it.
Right.
Like it would just bring me to the ground, or like I would have to let go.
Right. And that's the thing. I was like, yeah, you'd have to let go, or like, you're just going to face plant and let this dog drag you down the street. Just instinctively, I just slowed down. But then I'm like, if I stop and they stop, obviously, like, then do I just wait for them to walk all the way? Because if I start going again, it's going to start chasing me again.
Right.
So I just slowed down and continued to drive, and she did kind of get it under control.
And there's nothing more embarrassing than when you're in public and like I mean, it's probably the same with kids, where your dog will not listen to you and you're just completely out of control, and you look like such a loser.
Oh, it's exactly the same with kids. Oh yeah.
You're just like, she usually listens really good.
Yeah.
I promise.
She's not usually like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
That's funny. Have you talked to her? Like, do you
No,
see
I
each other
haven't seen her since. I haven't seen her since.
And she probably went home and told her husband, oh my God.
I know.
So embarrassing.
Well,
the
and
neighbor saw me not be in control of her dog.
Well, and it's one of those situations where she may not necessarily know that I saw her, because I don't know what came over me to like make me look in the rearview mirror. Normally I wouldn't, but for some reason I did. I probably caught it out of the corner of my eye, or like sensed something. And I mean, I did slow down, so that maybe gave her an indication of like, oh, she knows we're chasing. She knows we're after her.
She can see me. Oh man,
but
that's funny.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we went for a long walk at the switch yard the other day and had a lot of interactions with big dogs.
Yeah,
and all the owners are just like, she's really good with small dogs, I promise. I'm just like, okay, good luck to you, sir.
The dog encounters, if I was a dog parent, I think that would be like my Achilles heel. The dog encounters are not for me, I don't think.
Yeah, and I've just gotten to the point where every time I say, can they say hi? Because I'm not about to just like let her go up.
Yeah,
and, like,
absolutely not. No.
And like, can she say hi? Is like, is your dog gonna hurt my dog? Basically, in a nicer way.
Right.
And most people like
that
get
seems
it.
to be the vernacular, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people say.
Can I say hi?
Yeah.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought you were being.
or because what did you say that your neighbor said? Can they meet? Maybe that's what
can they meet?
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think most dog people know that, like, you never know how your dog's gonna, and you never even if your dog's like good with most dogs, you never know what your dog's gonna do around a new dog. Yeah, or person, honestly.
Right.
I know. So yeah, I've been trying to take her around and get her socialized because I don't want her to be one of those dogs. It's just like losing her mind every time she's around somebody or something. So, oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I haven't seen her since. So.
Yeah. Next time you should see her, like 6 months later, be like, "Hey, remember that time your dog pulled you down the driveway?" See what she says. Speaking of Suki, she got groomed for the first time.
Yes.
And she looks like Falcor now.
She does. She looks like a luck dragon.
Yeah, she's so cute.
We'll be riding her off into the sunset.
Yep. No Atreyu, just Falcor. Is Atreyu the boy or is Atreyu the horse?
Artex is the horse.
Artex. Oh, wow. Good memory.
One of the saddest
things
in child movie history.
Quicksand, right?
Yes, quicksand.
Is that where every kid's obsession with quicksand came from?
It could be, because remember when I feel like we were taught how to survive quicksand, and it's like, at what point in my life am I ever going to come in contact with quicksand? I need to save myself from it.
Is quicksand even real? I thought it was like a fictional thing from story tales.
It probably is. I have no idea. That's a good one to find out. But
were we taught how to survive quicksand?
Yeah, because you're not supposed to struggle. Remember?
Oh, right, yeah.
Like, the more you
just
struggle,
supposed to let it take you peacefully.
Yeah, that's right.
There is no surviving quicksand.
The more you struggle, the faster you die. So it's actually a slow death we're looking for here. Oh, man. Yeah.
Quicksand. That and lava. Two biggest fears in life growing up. Was just like, do not touch the lava.
I feel like lava is more likely than quicksand at this point.
Well, it really is real. We do know that for sure.
Yes, it exists. But yeah, bawling my eyes out every time. So sad. But then it's like the end happens, the end of the movie. He's riding Artex, like, across the, hunting the purple buffalo or whatever.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
So I can't remember
Does he die?
If the restoration of the kingdom or whatever brings Artex back. It's sort of the
mysterious.
lines are blurred. Yeah. Not entirely certain.
It is fantasy, so
yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but
yeah, I'll have to watch that again.
Yes, Atreyu is the boy.
The boy, yeah.
And Bastion is the little boy reading the story.
Right, man. Yeah. Great memory.
I have watched it. It's been several years ago, but I have watched it like as an adult.
Has your oldest daughter watched it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did she love it?
She doesn't remember it.
Okay.
I probably sprung it on her a little too early. Yeah. She was like 3. So yeah, I mean, I've watched it.
She was 6 months. I was just really excited for her to see it.
It was that one that I was a little like, maybe you're not quite old enough for this. And then the Escape from Endor. The Ewok movie.
Oh.
Escape from Endor, is that what it's called? I can't remember. But yeah, my husband came in and they're like, shooting with blasters and stuff. And he's like, is this maybe a little too violent? And I was like, maybe. I don't know.
Stuffed bears, practically. So
yeah,
I mean,
fine. They are teddy bears. So yeah, we'll be watching that one again in a couple of years. And I was about her age when I started watching Star Wars. So
yeah,
I mean, of course, our parents just didn't care what we watched. Didn't matter. So
I remember I was still pretty young when the reboots came out, or I don't even know what you call it. The original 3 came out in theaters, remastered.
All the prequels. Oh, the remastered versions. Yeah. Yes.
And I think that was maybe my first experience watching them. I feel like maybe my parents had showed them to me, but I didn't really remember. But I remember being scared.
Oh, really?
Of Darth Vader. But I was a little wuss, so.
Yeah, I wasn't afraid. I loved it from day one. My dad's a huge Star Wars fan, so, I mean, I've been watching them since I was probably 4. I don't know, But, yeah. there was just nobody cared about the violence in the 90s. I mean, we all just watched violence. I feel.
I don't know. I was never allowed to watch R-rated movies. Yeah.
Well, you guys also didn't have cable, did you?
Nope.
Yeah, you just had PBS.
But well, we had Channel 4, Channel 6, Channel 8, and Channel 12. So we could watch. I watched watched a lot of Seinfeld reruns.
Yeah.
What else? Mama's Family. Anybody remember Mama's Family?
Barely.
I watched a lot of that, and a lot of after-school talk shows. Jenny Jones.
Oh, absolutely.
Maury,
yeah.
Jerry Springer, all the classics.
Best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ricky Lake.
Ooh, Ricky. Rosie O'Donnell.
I did love the Rosie O'Donnell show, which my brothers still loves to shame me about. My brief Rosie O'Donnell phase.
Obsession. Brief Rosie obsession. It was short-lived, but it was impactful.
I mean, her show was great.
Yeah.
She threw foosballs.
What she's up to these days?
I mean, I think she's still around.
I haven't seen her in anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
In a long time.
I was
wonder. Look at this guy. He's got fresh flowers from the.
Oh, that's my neighbor.
Oh, is he taking that to his?
They have the sweetest relationship.
Is he taking that to his lady?
I think so.
Oh my.
They're adorable. Like every time she leaves or comes home, he like opens the door, and like when she'll pull up in the car. I've seen it. There's been a time where we pulled up at the same time, and he'll like come to the door,
waiting with open arms.
Yes.
At the door.
And every time she leaves, he like goes out in the porch.
That was like 24 roses.
Yeah, and coffees and iced coffees. Oh God, I gotta get me a man like that.
You know what? I wonder what is today International Women's Day.
Oh, is it?
Is he bringing her flowers for International Women's Day?
Oh my God, what a guy!
Let's fact check that. Is it?
I think it is because there's something going on with my sister's closet. There was like an International Women's Day.
It is.
Oh, happy International Women's Day.
I'm fully creating this narrative that he's bringing her roses and coffee for International Women's Day.
Oh my God.
Amazing. He's a keeper.
Yeah. They're all taken. All the good ones.
Marrying him is a choice for happiness.
That's right. I wonder if she listens to the pod. She probably knows that.
Yeah. She's like, I will marry you now.
Yep.
Yes.
Sealed it.
Speaking of our last episode in that, I had one point I did want to clarify. When I was talking about women seeking out validation through being chosen for marriage, and I'm not saying that applies to everyone. I do think it's a thing, though. And you know, we do this a lot on this podcast where we're talking and we're trying to make a point, and sometimes we get there and sometimes we don't.
And we're also often talking about points that we haven't really, we're speaking off the cuff.
Yes.
So then
we're
we go
developing
back.
the points as in real time.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that, we are still living in a society where men are doing the asking. It's very much still the norm, the commonplace way to do it. Women aren't asking men to marry them. And, I looked this up because I was curious, and it's been roughly 100 to 150 years, depending on the state, that women have stopped being the property of their husbands. Yet we are still living in this culture where it is men doing the asking, and it's this big proposal, and it's the man presenting the woman with the question, or almost like the opportunity to marry me, and here's the ring. And yeah, I just think even if conversations are being had, it's still often the woman waiting for the man to make the proposal and give the ring and seal the deal. And I think that there is this idea sometimes that, why is he not asking me, or why have I not been asked? And you see other people getting proposed to, or other women, and you're thinking, what makes her somebody that somebody wants to marry, but no one's asking me?
Yeah.
And I do think that can be a big issue for a lot of women in self-confidence and self-worth, and what makes them marriage material and not me. And it's like, why is it always on the terms of the man?
Right. Yeah, and I've always been curious too, what kind of conversations happen between a couple before a proposal. Like, are couples talking? I've never gotten to that point in a relationship with somebody where we've discussed marriage
right seriously.
So I'm always curious. So, like, are you having conversations about that before? Or are you literally just waiting for a man to pop the question? Quite literally.
Yeah. I think most couples are having conversations.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you have another conversation and be like, hey, we talked about getting married. Like, you still in? Or are you saving money? Or what's the deal?
I do think most couples are having conversations, but even the ones that are, and of course we're talking about this from like a heterosexual perspective and heterosexual couples. Sure, I can't speak for, other communities, but I think even when conversations are being had, it is still expected that the woman is waiting for the man to decide when it's time and to ask the question and present the ring.
Right. And you do always hear that it's like, she wants to get married, but he hasn't asked her yet. And it's, it never seems equal. It always seems like somebody's doing the waiting.
And I don't, and part of the reason why I say I definitely think conversations are happening, because I don't think a lot of men are going to propose to a woman unless they're sure she's going to say yes. I don't think there's a lot of men out there doing that, not knowing and being like, I wonder what she's going to say.
Not a lot. And if they do, it's definitely going on the internet for our entertainment.
Yes.
But no, I think you're right.
And so I just wonder why have we not moved away from this a little bit? And like, maybe how do we, to where it does become more of a collaborative process so that women aren't always feeling like they need to be the ones to be chosen and presented with this opportunity of marrying me. You know? I don't know. And I'm not saying that men don't feel like they're the ones getting the prize. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it feels very much on their terms.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear a man's perspective,
yes,
too.
It would.
With, like, what are the pressures? Because I feel like I hear that sometimes, too, from men, where it's like, well, I have to save all this money to, like, buy this certain type of ring. And then we have to plan the wedding and, like, what the societal pressures there on the reverse side.
Absolutely. Right. And I will say, I do remember, and now I can't remember how this was even, brought up or what the context of the conversation was. But, my husband was older when we met and got married. He'd never been married before. He was 40 when we met. But I remember him making a comment of, well, I didn't feel like I was in a position to like provide for a family for a while. And so I do think there is that pressure on men as well, which is an unfair pressure to them. It shouldn't have to be that way. You shouldn't have to be in a position to solely provide for a wife and a family in order to make a decision about marriage. That, know, so I mean, it would be interesting, if our 1.5 male listeners would like to come on and speak to that. We would love to hear it. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. And also, like, I don't know, I feel like we were kind of shitting on marriage. Definitely not.
No, not at all.
And I think I said something like, one of the reasons women get married is for safety. I also don't, and maybe security is a better word. I also don't think that's a bad reason to get married.
No.
I think that's a totally reasonable reason to want to get married. I just wonder how many women are examining the other ways in which they could find security, and if if they think they're marrying for security, if that's like a subconscious thing that they don't think about, and if when they do get married, if they feel that they have achieved that,
right?
Or if they realize like, oh, this isn't the security that I thought was going to come.
And is it a true want and need for security, or is it a societal expectation of security? And why can't you feel secure and safe in the life that you've provided for yourself?
Yeah.
And is it because you're feeling pressure and judgment?
Yeah.
Taking that path. And here's the thing, marriage is not going to present itself for everyone. Not everyone is going to find somebody.
Right.
That happens. And
I'm 36. I'm still single.
Right.
But I would love to be married.
Yeah, why didn't we get into
that.
like
I don't know why we didn't talk
your
about
personal perspective on this as a 36-year-old single woman in today's society? What?
Well, when I talk about it, I usually use the word partnership because something about I want to get married does feel antiquated to me.
Yeah,
because I don't really know if I want to get married, I assume that's where I will go, but I mostly just want a committed partnership with somebody.
Right.
For the reasons like life is easier with another person and it's more fun.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, like I've been in long-term.
And we thrive on connection.
And I've been in long-term relationships and it's the most happy times of my life. I also proved to myself that I'm independent and I can be fine by myself.
Right.
And over many years. And now I want to find somebody to share my life with.
Right.
For practical reasons, like it is much easier to manage a lifestyle with 2 incomes.
Absolutely.
Security.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's also nice to have someone to make decisions with, to share responsibilities with, to know that you have someone to depend on and think about you and you think about them.
Right.
I think those are all beautiful things.
Absolutely.
And I am excited for the fact that that is still
on the horizon.
For me. But it's also something I've spent like a lot of time thinking about. You know, I think for a lot of years, I just assumed it would happen on its own too.
Yes.
You know, like, I
think a lot of people do.
It'll just happen. Turns out you actually have to like work at it and like, and put yourself out there right. And, you know, make conscious efforts to finding the right person for you.
Well, and I think it's becoming harder and harder.
And I think I always just knew that like I was never the person that needed to get married right away. Mm-hmm. So I never felt any rush to do it.
Right.
And then now I'm like, oh, snap, I'm 36. I guess if I do want that, like I'm going to have to like go after it. It's not just going to fall in my lap because I'm not going to marry somebody that I'm not completely sure that I want to marry.
Right.
Which I guess is maybe my point about marriage, that I think people just, I don't know, maybe rush into it, but.
Yeah. Well, and I just think, you know, like you said about learning that you can be safe and secure and happy in your life being on your own and being independent. I just think a lot of people don't do that before they end up in a marriage with somebody. And I just think that that's so important. And I just don't think there's been nearly as much emphasis on that as there has been on finding your person and getting married and starting your family. And I think you can't truly sustain a relationship or be happy in a relationship if you're not first happy with you and what you're doing and knowing that you can be happy and content on your own.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, then I think you're in a much better position mentally and emotionally to be able to choose the right person in relationship.
Yeah.
You have to know what you even want and what makes you happy before you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think about this a lot about marriage too, thinking about younger people getting married and the lack of awareness I think you have in the understanding that if you get married at a certain age, you and your partner are going to change over the years. And are you committed to evolving with that person and accepting them even if they tend to change into a person that you maybe don't want to be married to anymore?
Right.
And I think honestly, that's probably why we see so many divorces now, is because it's acceptable to do that and people get married young and then you know, you're not the same person you were when you're 40 as when you were 22 and you want different things, behave differently. And yeah, I mean, that to me seems like the hardest, scariest part is like, even if I get married now at 36 and at 60, am I still going to want to be married to this person?
Right.
They could be a totally different person.
You always run that risk.
Yeah.
I think you always run that risk. People grow and change and they grow in different directions. You're always going to run that risk. But I think, you know, that would be less likely to happen when you have a better sense of yourself and who you are and what you want and what you can do on your own before you marry somebody else.
That's what I mean, where like, I think a lot of marriages that end in divorce probably happened because the marriages happened young before people had really answered those questions.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
All speculative, of course, but
but you know,
things I've spent 36 years thinking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what do we want to do next?
Oh, well, so I did see Baby Girl.
Okay, yeah, I really want to watch it. You love Nicole Kidman.
I love Nicole Kidman. I've literally never seen anything with her in it that I didn't love or at least like.
I feel like she's never really bombed.
No.
You know,
she's never bombed. I mean, you know, people say what you will about Eyes Wide Shut. It was a little weird. But I love her. I mean, just amazing. And especially she does so great in the series that she's been in, you know, since all of the big A-list movie stars have started doing the series with the streaming services. Every series she's been in, I've absolutely loved. The movie was great. Definitely, you know, it's an R. It's an R rated. But this also tied in a little bit with kind of what we were talking about on our last episode when I was talking about women, you know, not having so much of a sense of kind of like camaraderie and support for each other within like the workplace. That was another point I was trying to make. I'm not sure if I quite got there. I just feel like in especially male dominated fields, there's more competitiveness for women in terms of there not being as many spots at the top. And sometimes I feel like we see them being more pitted against each other as opposed to let's just like ride the wave to the top together, which I feel like is sort of more the sentiment when it comes to men. But this movie, and spoiler alert, this is a spoiler alert. Are you going to watch it?
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to spoil it, so I won't say it. But when you watch it, you'll kind of see that's kind of what's going on in the background of this movie. So that's not the focus of it. The focus of it is this like illicit affair that they're having. And there's some interesting power dynamics at work there. But yeah, I won't say too much then since you're going to watch it. But it ties into that idea of competitiveness with women in the workplace. And I'll be interested to see what your take is on it.
Yeah.
After you've watched it.
Yeah. And I know because I kind of thought I was thinking more about what you said the last time. And it's so funny. I wonder if that competitive nature, like at what level of professionalism you're thinking. Because I feel like every professional experience I've had with a woman has always been positive, encouraging. But I've never worked at like a super high corporate level where we're all
that's what I'm
gunning for each
talking
other's
about.
positions.
More, yeah. And I have been pitted against another woman at work for a position.
But don't you think that's happening by men, the pitting against each other, not by women? And because the opportunities are so narrow for women that it's actually the men pitting the women against each other as opposed to the women.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the men don't have a hand in pitting the women against each other. I don't think they're paying too much attention, to be honest. Yeah. In the profession that I was in, there weren't a lot of women at the top. Not at the top.
Yeah.
There were a lot of women.
Right.
But not at the top. I'm speaking from representation through pop culture and things like that.
Gotcha.
I'll be interested to see what you think when you watch the movie. But it's almost exactly what I was referring to.
Yeah.
What's going on there in the background. So
well, I'll definitely watch it soon so we can chat about it. And I feel like that kind of ties into the Millie Bobby Brown stuff too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Her thing came up on I just saw it naturally, that video that she made. I thought the video, the way she created it was interesting.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, this is almost like a PSA video that was put out by Millie Bobby Brown, who's the female star of the show Stranger Things. And she was getting a lot of comments and criticism online about her looks.
Yeah, for years.
Yes.
I mean, since the show started.
Yes.
I'm sure, and it's just been an evolution. And I thought it was really well said, what she said. I love it. She also called out statements made by journalists and the journalists' names, which I thought was pretty badass.
Yeah.
And I feel like necessary at this point, And yeah, she kind of made a similar point too that we had talked about in a previous episode, that a lot of those people were women.
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, leave these poor girls alone.
Like, do we have nothing else to talk about? And not one thing has been said about the male co-stars.
Right.
And all of them were about the same age when they started the show. They're 10, 11, 12. They've all grown up and become adults before our eyes. they all look different because they're adults now and
Yeah.
they were children when they started the show. And the fact that she's the only one that anyone's talking about this, it's like, let's
sad.
move on, guys. Really?
Yeah.
Of course she looks different. She's an adult. And, you know, she had a shaved head for a part, like, you know, because I know there's been both criticism about what some of the things she's maybe done in terms of how she looks, but also the fact that she just like doesn't look like 11 anymore. Okay, well, 11 has also changed and evolved throughout the show. I mean, it's a character.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, it feels like too so much of this, you know, just the gossip column part to pop culture is just so gross. And I mean, it just seems like the part of thinking about and talking about pop culture that will never evolve or get any better. That there's always going to be that like low level gossip column that always seems to happen. And it's just unfortunate, especially for women, that they're the target.
Yes.
And it makes, you know, that's the kind of stuff that like talking about pop culture and examining its effect on people's lives, I'm very wary of, you know, like how quickly it can slip into that.
Right.
You know, that like even us commenting and having conversations about the way pop culture affects our lives and how we think as women, you know, I feel like it could easily teeter into just making comments about other people, you know, and like that's what we don't want to have happen.
I think we do a pretty good job of not doing that.
Yeah, I think so too. Obviously, we're not gossip columnists who are just like tearing apart people's looks and for no reason, not. You know? But yeah, I mean,
But we also can't, you know, we're not going to sit here and pretend like it doesn't affect our lived experiences as females.
Yeah.
Especially. And that's honestly kind of like what this whole thing is evolving into, the podcast itself, you know? And we knew we wanted to do this. We knew, you know, that our friendship was the main focus of the podcast, but we also didn't know really what direction. It was like, let's just do it and kind of see what direction it goes. And that seems to be the direction it's going. And it does seem to be something that we talk about a lot just in general as women.
Yeah.
You know?
And the things we consume, watch, read, listen to.
Right.
You know, and how those things affect who we are and
how we experience the world. Yeah, absolutely.
I know, and it's just so, going back to Millie Bobby Brown, it's just so sad. Like, have we not learned by all of the other examples of young actors, pop stars, how detrimental it is to their mental health?
I know.
To rip apart especially their physicality constantly.
Yeah.
In such a I don't even know what the word is.
Malicious way?
Yeah. It's just awful. Like, how have we not moved on past this?
Because now what does it
now
really...
we know. Now we've seen so many examples of what it does to women as adults, you know?
Yeah, and what does it matter? It doesn't affect her as an actress. It doesn't affect the show.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah, I know. It's gross.
Yeah. Yeah, it was sad. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about... This was a Newsweek article, and it's basically a woman. I can't remember what her credentials were. Was she like a sex therapist or?
I think so.
And she was talking about sort of this new idea of asking a baby's permission when you change their diaper. People lost their minds.
Yeah, those people only read the headline.
Could be.
Yeah.
But I can also see those people reading the article and being like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not doing this. And the idea behind it is that we're creating a culture of consent at a very young age. Of course, you know, a baby is not going to answer you. He's not going to say, yes, mom, change my diaper. It's fine to change my diaper. And it's also, we're not saying that we understand a baby's diaper has to be changed. That's it. I also understand that it feels silly. It does. It feels silly. And oftentimes anything unfamiliar feels a little uncomfortable and silly to do. What I struggle with, you know, one of the kind of trigger phrases, you know, for me in the article was people calling it lefty lunacy.
Yeah.
And I understand that politics creeps into everything that we do, and everything is politicized, especially, you know, in this divisive political culture that we're in right now. But at the end of the day, engaging in only consensual sexual relationships or situations and protecting children from predators shouldn't be a political issue.
Yeah, or just, you know, teaching your child from infancy that they have autonomy over their body, even though all parents know as a child you don't totally with your parent. You know, like there are things you have to do as a parent where, you know, they aren't in control. They don't have the power to make choices all the time. But what they do have power of is to say no to somebody when they're uncomfortable and to have autonomy over their body, which is like what we're trying to persuade with
absolutely
this. And it's not, if you're taking it super literal, then yeah, of course it's going to sound insane, but like,
right.
And that's what I mean, where I feel like people read that headline, which is salacious.
Yes.
You know, is meant to grab people. Yes. And they don't read the article. And well, even if they do, I guess some people are just whatever,
they are. And, you know, I think we are really kind of, I think, the first generation to really put a lot of focus into body autonomy and creating a culture of consent for our children. And this is something that I think past generations really struggle with in the terms of the fact that it wasn't done this way when they were raising us and back, you know, their parents raising them. Having to ask for a hug from your grandchild is not something that people want to do.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but the lines can't be blurred. That's the thing. When it comes to consent and body autonomy, it has to be as much as you can with small children, as 100% of the time as it can be. And that includes friends and family and loved ones. You have the power to say, no, I don't want a hug right now. And, you know, I've seen the criticism of people saying things like, well, are you asking your child every time you give them a hug or a kiss? No. And that's the truthful answer.
Right.
No. But I will say, now that my oldest is 5 years old, I do tend to, more often than not, when I want to show her affection or give her affection, I just open my arms to her. And she comes to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not smothering her in hugs and, you know, I'm showing
unwanted affection.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm showing her affection, but it's easy enough for me to just open and she comes right into my arms, onto my lap. With my 1.5-year-old, it, you know, that is different because I am picking her up and I am like, but she knows how to give kisses now. And so I'll say, can I have a kiss? Can we give a kiss? And she will. And you know what? If she doesn't, I don't.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people are going to criticize that and have criticized it of other people. And that's fine, I guess. But the lines can't be blurred because they need to know that if they're ever in a situation, there shouldn't be any gray area. We all know, more often than not, the person who is preying on your child is a trusted adult, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's somebody that they know. It's somebody that they're familiar with. And they need to know that they have the power in that situation.
To say no, yeah.
To say no. And it starts at a very early age with things as simple as that. It starts with naming your body anatomy exactly what it's called.
Right.
It starts with openness and honestness and creating that culture from a very early age. And I understand that also. I think sometimes people who are triggered by that are people who didn't have that safe environment provided for them.
Yeah, I also think people get defensive a little bit too and think that you are saying if they walk up and give your 5-year-old a hug
that they're a predator.
Yeah. Like, no, that's not exactly.
No.
Or we're not that drastic either. We're just trying to encourage change to happen from, you know, a younger age so that it's not so hard. to teach them when they're older.
Yeah. And
and like change just doesn't happen as an adult. Like if we really want things to change and we really want things to improve and get better, that, you have to start taking these actions sooner, and that all of these are positive, encouraging behaviors.
Absolutely.
They're not meant to keep kids from being hugged and shown affection.
No.
It's just changing the way we think about it.
Exactly. And I would be willing to bet that creating this culture of consent this early can and will reduce the number of children who fall victim to these predators. And I think oftentimes in these situations, it's like not only do the kids not know how to say no or not know how to combat the situation, but they don't even fully understand what's happening because a word has never been uttered to them about anything.
Yeah. Right.
And I get that this is uncomfortable stuff. I get it. It is.
But it's only uncomfortable because it's new and we haven't been doing it.
Exactly.
If we keep doing it, it won't be uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah. And so, I just think.
And it is. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It is kind of crazy, too, when you start thinking about it differently, how messed up it is that we just assume all kids are ours to snuggle and hold on to and grab. All strangers.
They're still human beings.
Yeah, like even at the simplest level, even if they're just like, I don't want to be hugged right now.
Right.
That's okay.
Exactly.
And like it's not every auntie's right.
Can you imagine if everybody you knew in your entire life as an adult just came up to you and hugged you and kissed your cheek every time they saw you and you had no say in it?
Yeah.
Think about how wild that would be as an adult or even like a teenager.
Oh, yeah. When grown men do it to women, it's assault.
But yet we expect children to just take that.
Yeah.
And, I get that children aren't adults, but there are certain aspects where we should be treating them with the same respect that we would treat an adult with certain situations. And that's one of them.
I will say too, once you start doing it and then a child comes up and gives you a hug,
oh my gosh,
I mean, it's the best validation in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I do that with your kids, and like, I think because I respect their space and don't just like automatically go and force affection on them, they bring it to me now, and it feels great.
Yeah. It was my 5-year-old when we were trick-or-treating, and we go to a friend of ours house, and I said, can I give you a hug? And she said, no, thank you. And he was like, I love that.
That's awesome.
She's just like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Like, I just don't really feel like a hug right now.
Yeah. And that's how it should be.
That's her prerogative.
Exactly. So
that's how we raise change.
Exactly. So.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you for believing in that and then actually putting it into effect, because I bet it is hard.
It is hard. And I'm not sitting here saying I ask my child every single time. No.
Right. And I guess maybe this isn't the right thing to say, but I feel like there has to be a little bit of a difference in a parent to child, even though even with a parent, she should always be able to say, no, I don't want to be hugged.
Yes.
But especially when they're young, of course, your baby needs to be held by you and touched.
Absolutely. Yes. And infants, newborns, yes, you're skin to skin. All of that stuff is so important in creating that bond. And like, I'm not saying this is not us saying don't do that.
Yeah.
Of course, children need to be shown love and affection, but I think that you can do that while still incorporating a culture of consent from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
It's not as difficult or crazy as some people think.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah, the lefty lunacy of it all is just too much.
I mean, honestly, people.
Like, come on. I mean, that's just, people don't want to hear anything. They've dug their heels in and that's it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, Oscars?
Yeah.
Let's talk Oscars. We know it's been a week or more. And maybe
we really need time to digest the Oscars.
Yeah.
Really let it sink in.
That's right. Absolutely.
I thought Conan did a good job.
I thought it was a snooze fest, honestly.
It was kind of...
I think I set the bar too high, maybe. I was expecting more.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited. It wasn't laugh out loud funny like I thought it was going to be, but it's a really hard
It was crickety,
gig.
dude. And
but
I feel like...
I think a lot of that was from the audience, because his opening, my mom and I
from the audience.
But I mean, like, my mom and I laughed at his intro quite a few times, but it got like no response from the audience,
right? And that's
I just don't think his humor is a little subversive. I don't think it clicks with everybody in general, and I don't know if it's like the perfect kind of humor for that setting either.
But is anything? Because here's the thing: I feel like this is a notoriously difficult job.
Yeah.
And
it's always awkward, I feel like.
It's always awkward.
For Billy Crystal.
Yes.
I don't know what magic he has, but when he hosted the Oscars, it was always so funny and entertaining.
Yeah.
And you look forward to his
I feel like it wasn't
bits.
crickety.
No. But it's also a different time. Honestly, I think we kind of talked about this. I feel like the Oscars are just...
It's antiquated.
It hasn't evolved with the times.
Yeah.
You know? And
it feels like the Oscars almost feels like... now our generation of like old Hollywood or something.
Except we don't glamorize. I just feel like celebrity is losing its value a little bit. At least like how it used to, actors and actresses being this glorified celebrity. I just don't think it has the same kind of magic like it used to,
and
you know?
Yeah. And is this because fame is a dime a dozen now with social media, and you have famous TikTokers and famous influencers, and it's just different now?
I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact that people have in the last decade really started to realize that it was not a diverse representation of the world.
No.
You know, that it was a very select group of people that were always winning, that were always being nominated, and I feel like it's starting to lose its luster for many reasons. That the fact that like celebrity is available in so many different ways now,
right?
Then the show itself, like the production, I just don't think has evolved. It's the exact same show, every year. It has not gotten anything new.
No, I mean they change up little bits and pieces here in how they present the awards, but that's really about it.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Didn't they used to? This was the other thing. I feel like. Didn't they used to, it was like every song that got nominated, there would be a performance of that song?
Yeah, well, I think my mom mentioned this, that they said they weren't doing it this year because all the songs that were nominated weren't that good.
No.
Or like
because there wasn't like a Let It Go?
Yeah, well, there was the Wicked song.
Right.
And there was a couple but then they did that James Bond thing, which I was just like,
what was that about?
I don't know.
What was that even tied to? There was no James Bond movie.
There's some commemorative thing with James Bond going on this year, I think.
It's like an anniversary?
Also, though,
it made no sense.
Jeff Bezos just bought all the rights to James Bond or something,
so it was just like advertising James Bond.
So I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
I'm sure it did.
I don't know.
That makes the most sense, to be honest.
That's conspiracy. He bought, I'm gonna have to fact check this, but he either bought the rights to the library or something. But yeah, it wasn't super exciting show. I didn't think Conan did a bad job. I just didn't think it was.
I think I just thought it was such a good choice when you told me that's who it was, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be great. They finally like made the right decision with who they picked, and I feel like he felt like the man for the job. And I'm not saying that he necessarily did a bad job. It just did not feel like it was well received by the crowd. Yeah.
I don't think his humor clicks with everybody.
Yeah.
And I also feel like
the Adam Sandler thing was so weird.
That was so weird.
The song was bizarre.
Yeah. See, like, and you know,
because like Billy Crystal used to do that, but it hit.
Yeah,
it did not hit.
The song was bad. That was just bad. It just wasn't funny, and like I don't really think that's his shtick either. He's not really a song and dance guy. And I feel like
he's like 6'6". He's not a dancer.
I feel like he was kind of, I don't know, trying to fit the mold as opposed to breaking the mold a little bit. But that being said, I don't think it was a bad job. It was just a boring show.
It was boring.
I mean, I guess if you're the host, like
I was scrolling.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean,
and
I didn't watch the end.
Did you see Adrian Brody's acceptance speech?
No, I know you said that,
dude.
and I didn't. Is that the one where he like threw his gum to the?
Yeah.
Which I
missed
did
that.
hear about that.
I missed that at the beginning, but wow, what a cringe acceptance speech.
And I guess he like kept going on and on.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's okay. It'd be one thing if this is his first Oscar.
Right.
He's won an Oscar already.
Yeah.
He kissed motherfucking Halle Berry on stage.
Yeah.
He's had his huge moment. And then he went on to some sob story about how, like, I guess he hasn't been hired in a long time and, like, he's still around. It's just like,
do we care?
I don't know. I just have a really hard time having any sympathy for that. Like, sorry, brother, that's the business.
Yeah.
Like
do
to
we
Hollywood?
care?
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then they tried to.
Are you trying to garner sympathy?
I know.
I don't understand.
Isn't that just how it goes for everybody in the movie business? But then they tried to play the music. And he was like, oh, no, this isn't my first rodeo. You're not going to play the music. He just got really uppity, and I did not care for it. I did not care for his... I was like... She
didn't care for it, folks.
I always thought Adrian Brody was cool. Like, he was a Wes Anderson guy, and then he won the Oscar for Pianist. And, yeah, he had that huge moment. And I was just like, get off, dude. Wrap it up. And then he's dating Georgina Chapman.
I don't think I know who that is.
She is a fashion designer. She used to be on the panel for Project Runway.
Yes!
Married ex-wife of Harvey Weinstein.
Oh.
And he brought up something weird, too, about her kids, about like, her kids
call me Papa or something?
I was just like, what is going on? Like, dude, bail on this speech and exit stage right. Like, good Lord.
I did see something about that.
Anyways, me and my mom are both just like, oh, like, covering our eyes. It was so uncomfortable.
Okay, well, I'll be looking up that clip.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Clear 6 minutes of your life for it, but...
Yeah,
Anyways, I went on a little heavy about the Adrian Brody speech, but
I mean,
you're bad.
That's your opinion. Well, that's what we're here to hear. That's what we're here to hear. I will say I did watch both Anora and The Substance. I do think Demi Moore deserved the Oscar on that one. Listen, Mikey Madison? Right? Mikey Madison. She was great. She was great. The movie was fine. It was good. I'm a little surprised it swept the Oscars.
Yeah.
If anything, I thought the male supporting actor was better.
The guy who got like no nominations?
Yes. He was great. It was a good movie. It was a fine movie. It was entertaining. I don't know that it was profound in any way, really. Yeah. I do think Demi Moore deserved it. I thought her performance was better. I thought it was a more impactful role, and I thought she fucking crushed it, and it was so good.
Yeah, that's another thing this year. I have seen very few of the movies, so I haven't seen Anora or The Substance. But, yeah, that's from the clips I've seen and other people's takes, I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, happy for her.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you in your career. But
best of luck.
I just really thought Demi deserved it. And I know people are always like, it's about the performance and it's a one-off. And I know that. I do feel like there's something to be said, though, for a lifetime career. And I think we would be wrong if we were to say that never plays a role in people who win. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio winning for The Revenant, that's because he's Leonardo DiCaprio. Not that wasn't a great role, but so was Demi's.
Right. Well, and I feel like anybody who thinks that the Academy is basing the decision strictly on that one performance and nothing else, that there's not any bureaucracy involved at all in the decision making. Yeah. So that kind of shit happens all the time.
Anyway, that's too bad. Yeah. Hopefully there'll be, a bit of a resurgence in her career. I mean, she's been in some other stuff too. It's not that, she's been working. It's not, I think she had about a decade where she wasn't around too much, but maybe there will be another role out there for her.
Ghost 2.
We're on board for Ghost 2. Absolutely.
But without Swayze.
Well, he's dead though. So
I know, that's what
it could be a new dead guy. Can't we have a new dead guy? Does it have to be Swayze?
No. Oh, that's right. He dies in the movie too.
because he's the he's the ghost.
Yeah, that's right. Shit, forgot about that little.
And then he crosses
detail.
over, so it's not like he could be in the second one anyway.
Well, I guess I was just hoping for like maybe she dies and they have like a
like she's the ghost.
Yeah, and they have like a ghost romance together. But no, that's silly.
I mean, I'm here for her and Whoopi for sure.
Oh yeah, Whoopi really brought it with the dress too. Her dress was
metallic.
I thought it was a cool dress. It seemed a little odd choice for her.
Shininess. I liked the structure of it. I didn't like the metallic. I'm not a metallic girly, I guess.
See, I loved the fabric. I thought the sleeves were a little much. But
you're not samesies. You like the shininess and not the structure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right.
I was underwhelmed by the clothes too, to be honest. I thought Timothée Chalamet's suit was dope.
Yeah, I liked that. I thought Andrew Garfield looked so cool and chic.
Yeah.
And he had like a brown suit with like a brown silk shirt underneath, and like he just looked so, it's really hard to like just pull off an all brown look.
Yeah.
And he did it, and it was just very chic and cool, I thought.
Yeah.
I did love Ariana's Glenda dress.
Yeah, that was
really pretty.
Cynthia Erivo's dress was really cool too.
Yeah, I didn't love that one. I honestly, I was more impressed with the men's looks this year.
Yeah, Coleman Domingo in the red. I loved his.
Yeah, I didn't love a lot of the dresses. I thought Jeff Goldblum made ugly cool.
Yeah, he always does.
That's
like his bag.
His shirt, and it was this strange print, and then he had his like lavender kind of, it was like a tie scarf situation, just kind of like hanging off to the side, and then he had the bow tie.
He really knows how to accessorize.
And a boutonniere.
Yeah.
He had like an old-fashioned flower boutonniere. And yeah, it was, I would say, objectively kind of an ugly outfit, but he made it look cool.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I'm trying to think like, well.
Yeah, the menswear really did.
I did love Diane Warren's pantsuit. She looked very chic and cool.
I can't recall that.
It was just like a black pantsuit, like a wide leg pantsuit, and she had like an interesting tie situation going on. Yeah, she looked very chic.
And then you know who I was kind of disappointed in? She won for...
Oh, Zoe?
Yeah, Zoe Saldana. I thought her dress was beautiful.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't like... If I was nominated for an Oscar, oh, man. I mean, it would be just a showstopper, I feel like.
Yeah, it was pretty. The color was nice. And
it's very kind of like 1920s French silhouette, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
But... yeah, it didn't wow me.
Yeah, I wasn't like...
It just wasn't wowed.
I wasn't wowed either, to be honest. So I don't know. Like, maybe the takeaway here is like, we just fucking hate the Oscars.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's time to move on.
Maybe. I don't know.
I won't. I'll probably watch it every year.
Well, it's definitely time to move on in this conversation because we're getting to time here. Okay. Quickly, I do feel like before we let you guys go for the hour, need to talk about the Walk to Remember reboot.
Oh, very important.
Because if you have not heard, they are rebooting this movie.
They're rebooting one of the worst movies of all time, but
it feels like an odd choice.
I did own it on VHS and did watch it.
I feel like it was such a big part of the zeitgeist at that time, though. Like, every girl was singing that song into a hairbrush in their bathroom.
And I don't know why. Why was it... Why did we love it? Because it was so bad. And the choices were so strange. Mandy Moore was like a B celebrity or like a B pop star. She wasn't like the big pop star. I mean, she was famous. But she wasn't like Britney level.
Well, she was up against Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, I mean, Jessica Simpson. Like, I mean, so yeah, she wasn't.
But she still was. She still was a caliber.
Was still big.
But then Shane, what's his face?
No, he never did. We don't care about him. It was just like,
how did he get that role?
Well, I feel like he started to have a moment and then he just didn't.
Yeah.
You know? But if you are a 35 to 40 something woman, you have seen this movie probably multiple times and you were obsessed with the song. The visceral reaction I have to that song is like,
my only hope.
I lay my only yours I pray to be only yours I know now. You're my only hope.
And just like a very underwhelming delivery of the song. It's not like she belted it or it was like
no, but it's like so catchy and like so like just like an earworm. Yeah. I mean,
I think that was one of those movies that I used to watch as pre-adolescent, and my parents were just like, "Are you kidding me?
I know
this is so cheesy and bad." But it's just like it came out at that time where it's like that's what I wanted.
That was the time though, and I also feel like there was, and like. These two things like could be totally unrelated, but I feel like there's something about that time period and like that particular like this very religious girl, and like Seventh Heaven was so huge at that time. I feel like there was kind of this emphasis on like that religious part of it. And then she gets cancer, and it's like, it makes me think of, remember Chicken Soup for the Soul? Remember how huge that was? I feel like there was a theme at that time period of like just this undercurrent of faith-based,
like puritanical stories,
faith-based pop culture stuff. Yeah. And it was big, and it was, I don't know. I feel like it fits into that category of that stuff that was popular at that time. And we just like,
it just had like it just had every trope.
Yes.
All the tropes thrown all together. Yes. Like you couldn't have just picked a couple.
No.
Because it was like he's the bad boy.
Right.
Then he gets in a car wreck. Then he gets suspended. And then he meets the girl, the girl next door who is also the preacher's daughter. And then she has cancer. Yes. And then they fall in love. And then they get married. It's just like
so they can have sex.
She dies.
Yes. And it's like, yeah, I'll be interested to see if the reboot is going to be as focused on that faith part of it as well. I mean, it'll be interesting to see because I do feel like they were latching on to something with that time period where that stuff was popular. I don't know. I had every Chicken Soup for the Soul book.
Yeah, it is like the classic tale, the wholesome religious girl next door gets,
Is it the classic tale though, or was it the classic tale of that time? I feel like, I don't know. There's something about it in that time period that, I don't know. But I'm here for it.
Yeah, it'll be, I wonder if they're going to like.
It's such an odd choice, and
yeah, it is a very odd choice. I'm so curious to see who they cast.
Me too. All right, grapes and gripes.
You go.
Okay. So my gripe, and it's not like profound or revolutionary, but this time of year when my children are bringing like every virus known to man into my house, and you're just constantly washing your hands, just like scrubbing them. But it's also so cold and dry. And so you're scrubbing and lotioning and scrubbing and lotioning and scrubbing and lotioning. And it's a vicious cycle. And I'm putting this salve on them every night before I go to bed. Yeah. And it has, it's doing well. But it's like there's still, you can't avoid the red knuckle or the crack here and there.
Oh, yeah. And it is crazy how, like, one day of nice warm weather, and I'm like, oh, my skin's just, like, perfectly back to normal.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, I hate that. My skin was so dry this year. It's bad.
Yeah. I don't know. It's, I'm looking forward to, there's something to be said for a little humidity in the air. You know?
Yeah. You need it.
Yeah. So I know all we do is complain about how humid it is in the summer, but I can't imagine living in a dry climate all the time.
Oh no, humidity is great for your skin.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah, you need it. The other thing, I don't know that this is so much a gripe, but I have noticed that it's more like a delicate situation, and then I find that this one particular thing happens and always kind of like makes me chuckle. But have you ever been in a situation where you're leaving like kind of a small parking lot at the same time as like the same other people?
Oh, uh-huh.
So like when I leave the gym or like leaving school pickup, right now school pickup is like a preschool small little parking lot. And everybody's kind of like leaving at the same time and like getting ready to back out at the same time. And you're all, watching. And then you fall into this routine of like the same person goes first. every time, and then you go. And so that has now happened at the gym where it's me and these two other girls, and we're leaving, and the first like couple times you're like just kind of getting used to it, and everybody's got their lights on and you're like waiting, you're like, who's gonna go, and now we've gotten into a routine where I go first, then this girl goes, and then the last girl goes. Anyway.
Well, you got a routine. That's good.
Yeah,
that's like when I play Monopoly, I always have to sit at on the same side of the board.
Is that the same, or
well, because like it's like once you do
same thing.
No, but it's like once you do something the one way, you can't do it a different way.
Yeah, no, I know.
So it's like she went first, we went this way.
Right.
This is how it's going to be.
This is how it's going to be. Yes, we've established the order.
I sat behind St. James Place one time. I played this game, and
now I have to.
That must be where I sit all the time.
Yeah.
All right, not the best connection, but sort of related.
Oh man. Okay, so then my grape is just going to like toddlers and their stuffed animals or their toys.
Aww.
I just still replaying my 1.5-year-old walking out with her Elmo, singing Dancing Elmo.
Oh, I just saw it.
Wanted to show Hollis this, and it's so funny because, you know, the 5-year-old gets a lot of attention, and I feel like she kind of like screamed at you to like try to get your attention, and she like disappears, and she comes back holding her Elmo doll, and she's just beaming from ear to ear, and then she sets it down and she starts doing her little chicken Elmo dance. And there's just nothing sweeter or cuter than a 1.5-year-old being so proud of herself and like so excited about something. And
she was so excited, it was hilarious.
Yes.
And then she did it once, and I was like, oh man, that's so great. And then your husband was just like, oh, she'll keep doing it. And she did. She just kept doing it over and over. And it was like not annoying either, actually. It was just.
No, I mean, I don't even hear the Elmo doll anymore. She does it all day. But it was her excitement to show a new person.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, man, there's a new person. Like,
you're never going to believe what I can do.
Yeah. Just wait. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Toddlers are cute.
Yeah, she's a pretty cute one, too. Okay, my grape goes out to, at my neighborhood, I live in a apartment, but like,
it's more like a duplex community.
Yeah. We all have front doors, but the property management company puts out, dog posts with trash cans and doggy bags, like all around. Mm-hmm. So nice, convenient, you know, because if you forget a bag. Perk. You have one, there's a place to throw it away.
Amenities.
It's so nice, yes. And I'm very grateful that they're there. My gripe goes out to the people who don't use them.
Yeah.
Whose dog takes
whose dog shit I just stepped in.
Yeah, or who literally 3 feet away from the trash can with bags. I mean, it'd be one thing if you were like not in sight.
Right.
You know? Even still, you should be
prepared.
Shit, but like, like it, right there. I mean, it couldn't get any easier. Right. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've never noticed how much crap is all over the place until I had a dog, and I was just like, oh wow, there's
literal poop everywhere.
Shit everywhere. Anyways, so that's
a good one.
Other dog related grape and gripe. So,
did you say your grape?
Yeah, the fact that they provide. Oh,
those. It was a yes.
Yeah, it was a
duly noted.
Yeah.
Grape and gripe.
Twofer.
Got it. Yeah. Like the dates.
Yeah.
I know. I do have a new sweet treat for us to try today.
Ooh, yes.
It's more of a peanut cluster type situation.
Oh, peanut cluster.
We will report back after we've sampled.
Awesome. Well, hey, to all the women out there, you're amazing. Happy National Women's Day.
Yes.
And thanks for listening to this pod.
Tell your friends, tell your family.
Yeah.
Give us the 5-star review. We love you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.